Parliament yesterday, you also saw the scuffle that blighted this issue. This was the main issue, but it was blighted by the scuffle where the strangers actually invaded the session where the MPs were actually trying to deliberate on a few issues. So that's the issue right there coming in. The censure of the security minister failed to come to pass. I also knew it wasn't going to come to pass. But what do you think is going to happen? Do hit us up on our social media pages, NTV Uganda, that is on Facebook and Twitter. We are also live on YouTube. Well, let's move on. The Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs wants the Electoral Commission and the Ministry of Justice to amend the Electoral Commission Act to enable people who turned 18 years of age on 23rd of December 2019, when the voter registration and verification exercise ended, to vote in the 2021 elections. This request was made by the committee members during an interface yesterday with the team from the Electoral Commission at Parliament. Also, the display of the voters registered began yesterday. Also saw a low turn-up at various polling stations. Let's take a look.
On 23rd December, the Electoral Commission concluded the voter verification exercise that implied that only people who had been included in the register by that time are eligible to vote in 2021 elections. Now the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs want the Minister of Justice to amend the Electoral Commission Act to enable all Ugandans who will have attained the age of 18 by 2021 to vote in the elections.
The progress of how far you've gone and narrowing down to giving other young people opportunity to vote to determine the destination of this country.
The committee has given the Electoral Commission up to Tuesday to give the progress report on the matter.
The person who qualifies to be registered as a voter is that person who is 18 years at the time of application. At the time of application, the person is, not will be by the time of polling.
Meanwhile, the display of the voters' registers that commenced today has seen a low turn-up at various polling stations. In the 4 divisions that make up Kampala, the situation was the same, with people saying they preferred to work first before checking on the register.
Abantu tebalina kyakulya. Kakati onogenda otyo osimbe enkalala z'abalonzi nga tolina na ssente.
Kudda oli kwemulira musimanyi kulonda nga ne betugenda okulonda tebirina makulu. Oyo zero.
However, in Rubaga, this polling center was fairly busy. Of the over 10,000 voters on the registers, at least 200 turned up.
I think they are not aware about the register, because some of them they are not listening radios, they don't listening to, they don't watching TV.
They are not yet informed because we don't have someone who moves with the information about that the registers are at Excel now. We need 20,000 for the person to move around, and that machine they use when talking needs 20,000.
We have engaged in mobilizing our residents using the megaphone, communicating that it has begun today up to the 10th. However, as usual, the residents have been failing to turn up in big numbers, and usually towards the end, they always come.
Ezra Ongalia, the Assistant District Registrar for Rubaga Division, attributed the low turn-up to the tradition of people waiting to do things at the last minute.
Not everybody wants to come for the display exercise. The reason being they're already registered. Most people, after doing their registration, they are sure in the register and they expect to come on the D-Day.
On the concern of the poor sensitization about voters' register display exercise, he says the budget this time round couldn't allow them to facilitate the local leadership. The countrywide register display exercise, which started today, is scheduled to conclude on 10th March 2020. Ivan Chimurichigozi, NTV.
Yes, the national voters display started yesterday, but there was a low turnout. Well, like in Rubaga. Rubaga has 10,000 registered voters, but only 200 turned up to check if the particulars were actually at par in the register. So those are some of the contentious issues. There's another issue of there was low funding, no preparation. Is that the case? They're saying that they did not have enough money to sensitize the public before launching the national voters display. And they're saying that's the reason why there's a low voter turnout. It's a lot of information right here. And we are going to be talking about this and a lot more. The Electoral Commission announced earlier this week that it would commence displaying the national voters register from the 19th of February 2020 to the 10th of March 2020 at the respective polling stations. More importantly, through the Electoral Commission, they reveal that eligible voters who applied for registration but do not appear on the register will be able to present their cases to the electoral officials during this voter display exercise. For more on the exercise and the entire electoral preparations, we are joined by Paul Bukenya, the Deputy Electoral Commission spokesperson. Many thanks.
Hey, morning to you.
Big things are happening.
Sure.
The National Voters Register started yesterday. We had a short-lived banter during my interview at One broadcast, but you did not expand fully on the issues. Now, tell us about this National Voters display. Why are you ready to implement this? Because we are talking about poor sensitization, low turnout. Why is this happening?
Yeah, good morning, viewers. We issued a roadmap in 2018 where we indicated the activities we will do and the timeframes. And we're glad that we are rolling out as per the roadmap. This is a scheduled activity.
Indeed.
It is known on the calendar, electoral calendar. We've sensitized, we've reached out and mobilized. We started with the local leaders. All through the first week of February, we reached out at the regional level, met district leadership and told them we are coming down to the field to roll out this activity. We advertised, we called for applications for display officers. This is a known activity. I do not think that we can conclude from day one that there is low turnout because people do not know. No, they do know what's going on. The leaders know. The register is a very sensitive document. We've kept the political leaders aware of what we're doing about the register. We updated the register. We extended 3 times. And we said, rather 2 times, you remember in December.
Yes, I remember.
And then we said we are bringing back the register for display in February, and the date is exactly the date we indicated. So it is an activity that's on schedule. What I think is that day one is the day we started off, and we're going to gain momentum. The public tends to come in, towards the end. I'm registered. There are many ways people have confirmed their registration status. They've used our online platform. They've used so many other, the register is a public document.
Yes, yes.
So I think I cannot conclude, I cannot say that we were not prepared. No, this is a scheduled activity. It's on course, and I'm glad that it has taken place on the day we indicated a year ago that this is when it will take place.
Maybe the citizens then had forgotten that there was even an exercise in the offing that was coming around. But you also contended that the issue to do with people coming in late or not even turning up for this national voters display exercise is because of the mentality of Ugandans coming to these exercises at the last moment. But then on the other side, we did talk to the people themselves, and they were saying it's conflicting with their work schedules. They have to go to work first. Yes. What other avenues can we come up with? Maybe put this over the weekends and have people come and check the register.
Participating in elections is a duty. It's a national duty. So you have to spare some time.
Even keeping food on the table is, Mr. Bukenya.
Yeah, it is certainly. But you have to say at one time, I need to establish. You have a right to vote as a participate in elections. So you need to secure that right by registering as a voter. That's why we had issues registering voters. We publicized a long period for that purpose. And, we waited up to the end to say that let's go and do that. It's a mentality among Ugandans, but I think we need to discourage it. Then I want to encourage Ugandans. The time for display is 8 a.m. up to 6 p.m. in the evening. It also includes weekends. So, the register is displayed at the polling station, which is very near to you. It's not at the parish. It is at the polling station. The polling station is your polling station. So I think we need to put it in our mind that elections are important. I need to confirm that I'm a registered voter. So I need to spare some time. This is a register. You just need 20 minutes.
I hear you.
To go and check and say, oh, I'm a registered voter and this is my number. Oh, let me write it down.
I hear you.
Okay, so everything is okay. By the way, that guy on the register, well, that's the guy who passed on. He was knocked by a car. Can I recommend for his removal? This is what we are doing. So I think you're going to need to spare that time because elections are important. Otherwise, what we see is that people turn up on polling day and say, but in 2006, I voted from here. That's why we display the register and we're encouraging the leaders to mobilize the political parties are mobilized, they know, and they are the consumers of this product. And then, of course, the LC ones, who also are key stakeholders. We've sensitized them on these activities, and they should mobilize their communities to participate. Yeah. So I think we cannot conclude from day one that we have a crisis or a situation like that. Day one was to distribute materials, get started, open up the stations, and the reports are just coming in from across the country that stations received, districts received materials and distributed them out, and the exercise has started.
Okay.
Our job now is to mobilize people to turn up in big numbers, to set aside that time, just those 20 minutes.
Just 20 minutes.
From 8 a.m. in the morning
up to 6 p.m. I do understand those 20 minutes, Mr. Paul Bukenya, but it's very, very hard to talk to your employer or tell them 20 minutes off work. I want to go check on the vote. Some people do not want to hear that, especially the multinational companies. They do not want to hear that. So would that be enough to handle the vast numbers of people who might have enough time to come over the weekends? I'm sure you'll be dealing with loads of people on that day. But let's talk about some of the solutions in that regard. Have you thought about using an e-portal where voters can go and check the particulars on the internet, that I'm at work and I can still check on my phone whether or not my particulars are reflected on the register? Have you thought about that?
Of course we are doing that. We have that link. We have a link where people can search by ID, by their identification. You know of your national ID number.
That, yes.
And so you can go to our website, www.ec.or.ug, and click on Voter Locator. The app is there. And we're going to be sharing even more platforms, including SMS that we are working on. But you know, the display is very important because it helps us to remove particularly dead people from the register.
That's my next point.
So while I may be able to check, I'm here at NTV, and then I check and confirm, oh, I'm a registered voter, that's fine, that's good, you're good to go. But then it would also be good to come at the polling station and help us identify a person who has died. You can't do that online.
Indeed.
It's when you look at the register and see the photos and you say, oh, wow, these are the guys, oh, these guys, this gentleman died, this Mzee died, I know this person.
Is it the role of the citizen, of the voter, to identify the ghosts on the voter's register? Or is it the role of you, the authorities, mandated with the same?
We do this together. You know the person who died on your village, you recommend them for removal, and then we effect that removal. Otherwise, in Kampala on Ginger Road, we do not know what has happened at a village in Mityana, or somewhere in Sembabule, or somewhere in Agago. We do not know. But the local community knows those who have passed on, and then they can help us to clean the register. Otherwise, the register as it is contains everyone whom we recorded, but we do not know from the time we recorded, from 2016 up to now. Probably there is someone who has died on that village and who needs to be removed.
Not probably, but it's a must. Some people have passed away from 2016 up to now. So can you please give us an assessment of how many people have died, how many ghosts are in the National Voters Register, and what are you doing to clean it up?
This is exactly what we're doing. The purpose of displaying the register is for me to confirm that I'm a registered voter, confirm that my particulars are correctly captured, and even note them down so that on polling day I do not need to move around looking for where to vote from. Then the second thing is to help clean the register by recommending the removal of ineligible persons, for example, those who have died, and you are the people who know those who have died on your village, in your community. So I think this is a very, very important part that we need to take note of. While I can check and confirm my particulars from where I'm seated in the comfort of my office, I also need to participate in cleaning by recommending the removal of those who have died. So the link is on, and we're going to be sharing it through the social media platforms, and also through the announcement, the adverts that we're placing on NTV and other stations, and they'll be running soon. But we also want to encourage people to take a walk to your polling station, because it's different to know that I vote from you know, Shimon polling station, and then also to know its location.
Indeed.
And that's the problem we get on polling day. Someone walks around 3 polling stations before they identify where they actually vote from. So elections may appear to be a bit, you know, in January next year, in February, but you need to know now. And that's why you need to set aside some time. You can do that, surely. You have 21 days. Day one is gone. We still have 20 days to do this.
Okay, the conversation between yesterday and I'm sure even today, the conversation has been political exclusion of those young people who might have turned 18 from December 19th You get the point. When you stop the voter registration exercise up to 2021, when we will have the election, they contend, the Committee on Parliament and Legal Affairs contends that there should be an extension of this exercise to allow these young people also participate in this voting process. There are over 1 million, that's what they say. So what are you doing in that regard? Do you emphasize that in the near future, the Electoral Commission might actually buy into the ideas of Parliament and extend this process to get other people involved?
Yeah, I think I followed that discussion, and there are issues that were discussed on the in the committee. What the Electoral Commission does, when we update the National Voters Register, we also issue or gazette what we call a cut-off date. We issue a statutory instrument to you know, indicating that we have cut off registration of voters. That is in law. It's not done by the Electoral Commission to keep out certain people from registering. By law, we are supposed to prepare a National Voters Register and start using it for electoral activities. Maybe Ugandans need to appreciate that we conduct several elections. There are quite many elections, elective positions that we organize elections. So, for example, the first elections under the 2020-2021 general elections are starting in April this year. And that means already that we are supposed to have a National Voters Register ready. And that's why we cut off and say, as at this date, these are the registered voters we have in Uganda. Now the law talks about 18 years and above as at the time of registration. So when we come to preparing the general elections, we cut off so that we prepare a final register which can be used. And that's the spirit. The Electoral Commission does not go out intentionally to leave out our brothers, our sons and daughters who have turned 18. But by law we have to do that. For example, the political parties need
by law.
By law.
Yes,
we create a cut-off date. The political parties need a clean register. They want to conduct primaries and they need to use a clean voters register. Because the people who are involved in party primaries must also be able to present themselves for national elections. That means the parties rely on our national register, which we are cleaning right now and must make available before the first set of elections in April, which are special interest groups elections. Then, of course, there are even other issues that are very, very important for us to conclude the registration. You need to know the number of registered voters. And then you declare to the nations that as at this date, this is the number of registered voters. That helps you to...
So we don't know right now the right number.
Of course, right now...
we already know 17 million, but we do not know whether it's the exact number.
We are going to clean because we are going to remove at least one dead person. That's a must.
Indeed.
So after cleaning, we are going to declare that the register, as after the cleaning process, is now, for example, let me say 17 million. Because we've used the figure of 17 million. Is 17 million. And that's the figure for which we need now to procure, for example, ballot papers. You need to have a definite figure to help you procure some services like ballot papers, finalize the number of polling stations. For example, you may need to split a polling station up to merge them if something has happened. And you may need to do several other issues related to managing the election, which is why there's need for cutoff. But if there's a feeling in the public that this matter should be discussed further, then the law needs to be looked at. But you know, like I told you, the first set of elections is in April. Persons who are aspiring for presidential elections are going to start moving around for supporter signatures. The people who support the candidature of presidential candidates across all the districts must be registered voters on the National Voters Register. So when will we have a final register as Uganda? So Electoral Commission is following the existing law to create a final register. And that's why we cut off on December 23rd. And now we have brought back the register for cleaning. After cleaning it, we will publish it and say this is the total number of registered voters. The parties can start using it for their primaries. Then our nominations will start in July and August this year. We will be using exactly that register, and it's the register we'll use for elections. That is the spirit. And the law does not allow us to register in anticipation, you know, that someone will be 18 as at this date.
I had Simon Bebakama use that
argument. It doesn't project, you know, it doesn't look at it. It says as at this date. So we are following the spirit of the law, although it has created an impression that some people are being left out.
True.
You know,
True. Yeah. So let's stick to the law. The recommendations of the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs yesterday did contend that they should direct the Ministry of Justice to amend the Electoral Commission Act to allow this set of group of people who might have been left out when the registration ended on the 23rd of December to actually participate in the process. If the law is amended, will actually the Electoral Commission be submissive in the implementation of the same and go ahead with the registration of these people? And what would it mean on the funding issue?
Yeah, I think when the law is any law, electoral law is amended when you are already rolling out the roadmap, it creates situations, you know.
Help us understand those situations.
I don't want to speculate on several issues because the committee recommended and the team is looking at it, and I can't speak about what has not yet come out, but I think there will be a report shortly. There are even timelines that were indicated. I think let's wait for that report.
Let's talk about the reasons that prompted the committee to come up with this resolution.
Well, I think there is a feeling that a big number of Ugandan citizens, eligible persons, will not be able to participate in the elections, and so you should create room for them.
But it's valid, yes.
It's a very valid, because every day someone turns 18, and it's a very interesting argument. Even on polling day, someone will turn 18 and they will say, I have a right to vote because I'm 18 today.
So if the law is changed and the Ministry of Justice compels the Electoral Commission to go ahead with another set of registration, what would be the financial ramifications on the same, and would it disrupt the electoral roadmap?
I don't want to speculate, like I told you.
You're
but
not speculating.
Wherever there is, wherever an electoral laws are amended, you know, when you're already running the roadmap, certainly it creates situations that can, you know, even disrupt the electoral process.
Help us understand those situations, because right now the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee is watching to understand your views, because they gave you their views. Now
I'm sure they got a competent comment from my chairperson. But you know what we are talking about.
We want to know what those issues are, and would it disrupt the electoral roadmap? It's important.
Of course, the public needs to know. For example, we've compiled a register, we've displayed it, we are now displaying it. And by law, you know, when you amend one section, it may require amending several other sections, because by law, register is supposed to be displayed. And if you update it, that means if you bring on new persons on the register, you're supposed to display it again, for example. It would require you to display it again. For how long? For general elections, display takes 21 days. The display takes 21 days. So, you know, already the timelines can be affected. And of course, when you roll out a national activity like a display, last time the Electoral Commission was saying that the display is costing us 24 billion, 24 point some, you know, some money is around there, 24 billion shillings. Already a national display, it takes money, so it will, any amendments to laws, or even any law that is made, like, you know, there's always implications, financial implications. I do not want to speculate, but I hope that our consideration is made in that direction, that there will be several issues. But again, on the roadmap, because I actually looked at, I used the word disrupt, there's already an electoral cycle that is on. For example, the first set of elections is in April this year, and it's for special interest groups, which includes the youth. So I think I'm digging already deep into the issues that are before the committee and the team that is sitting to discuss what Parliament recommended. But let's wait for the report and the feedback. But as it is, the cutoff was in good spirit and it is in law. That's what we've told our stakeholders, that it is in law. And it's not the first time that there's been a cutoff. The cutoff has been on for all these several elections that we've had in the past. But if it so requires that the amendments can be made and they can be accommodated, the law can always be amended, and I think we will be able to accommodate that with all its implications.
Because so yes, when I had that information yesterday from the Parliament's legal and Parliamentary Legal and the committee, I was very, 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 very scared. I was like, okay, if the Electoral Commission Act is amended, this would mean we would have to even push the election itself a few months ahead.
Yeah, like I told you, I don't want to speculate, but there's a competent team that
because I'm trying to use visualization here. Because if it's going to disrupt the time frame, that would mean we wouldn't be having the election in January or February, but it would be pushed to first implement the set of recommendations from the Ministry of Justice. You also have the electoral laws that are going to be amended. All that, I'm thinking, wouldn't it affect your timeline from January or February 2021 elections?
Yeah, when there are changes in a law that is guiding, for example, the process which is now running, it has the potential to create shocks.
So how ready are you, just in case of these shocks are put in place?
If there is need to make any changes, then it has to be in accordance with the law, because you can't do anything outside the law. And if it's a new law, or if it's something that has gone through the procedures and has gotten all that blessing, you know, how the legal system works, then we wait for that. We will follow exactly what the law says, because even right now we are following what the law provides, which creates a cutoff And unfortunately, you know, that cutoff leaves out a number of people. Every day someone turns 18.
So you agree there are some loopholes in the law and it needs to be amended?
I do not think it's a loophole. It's the nature of the electoral system in Uganda. We have several elections that are conducted, and they're conducted over a period of time to create structures. For example, the special interest groups elections are conducted and they are progressive.
Yes,
they start from LC1, LC2, LC3, then they come to the district, then there's a National Youth Council. Then, you know, for special interest groups, we have delegates conferences that come together to elect their member of parliament. I don't know what other countries have, but ours is unique. And it requires a time frame. It creates a time, you know, that time frame which you see in our roadmap. And because of that, we create cutoffs so that we prepare the elections. For example, local government elections, which are the biggest bulk of, you know, they form the biggest LC3 elections, you know, the different councillors that are elected by secret ballot. Preparing their ballot papers is one of the biggest challenges on the biggest task that we have. And they are nominated, and we take a lot of time preparing their ballot papers because they have to be arranged and printed. And those timelines are reflected and justified. And I think even the members of parliament admitted that they accept that, you know, the Electoral Commission has a big task, and that's why it needs all those time frames. So it is all rooted in our electoral system, and if there is need to look at it and the levels of elections we hold, so be it. But as it is now, we are using the existing legal framework to design the roadmap, and we're implementing it according to that legal framework.
Most importantly, though, Mr. Paul Bukenya, there's this issue of eligible voters who applied for registration but do not appear on the voters register. What is their fate?
I do not also want to speculate on that, although we issued a guideline and we said if someone applied, and because when you apply, it's an application, it goes through a process, you are verified as a citizen by the competent authorities, NERA, and then we of course capture your particulars and put you on the register where you indicated. So we've done that. That's why we brought back the register. But if someone has gone through that process and has proof of registration, and for some reason their particular does not appear, if it ever happens, because these are some of the incidences that we sometimes get during polling days. So during display, we urge everyone who registered, who applied for registration as a voter, to go and confirm that their particulars were correctly captured. If it so happens that you do not see your particulars on the register, then this is the time to say that, hey, I have proof of registration, I applied for registration as a voter, and my particulars are here, and I do not see my details on the register. Then that can be corrected. Otherwise, there is no fresh applications for registration as a voter. Even those people who have such issues will be required to provide proof that they are registered voters.
Wow, 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 wow.
Yeah.
Help us understand. Yay! Explain to us exactly what is happening at this National Voters Register, because right now the things you're explaining seems like the people do not understand at all what is happening. You're saying if I'm an eligible voter, even though I'm not registered, I cannot still get registered during this period. What is the rationale? No,
we're saying that the display helps you to confirm that you're on the register. That's why we've said and advised those persons who have applied for registration that go and confirm. Because there are people who have voted before and they're so confident they have their particulars.
Yes.
They have checked even on our online platforms, they've checked on our website, on the voter locator app, and they're so confident, they're so sure. They're even candidates, they're holding elective positions. But you know, there are new voters who applied for registration as voters, and we're advising them, please go and confirm that what you gave us has been correctly captured. You have been put at the polling station where you applied to be put. During the update, several persons applied for transfer of their polling locations. We were advising that go and confirm that the place where you requested to be moved, transferred to, it was affected, so that you do not get a problem on polling day. You have 21 days to do that, now 20. So that's what we are saying. And then we are saying that in case that does not, has not been affected, then you can bring it to our attention. You say, I applied for transfer, and this is the copy of the receipt you gave me, proof of application. Please, I do not see it reflected, and then it can be worked on. What we've ruled out and say that it doesn't happen during this time is we do not register new voters. We do not register new voters.
If I do not have a national ID, but my name still is reflected on the National Voters Register, am I eligible to vote?
The basis for you participating in elections in the National Voters Register. You can only participate in elections when you are a registered voter and you present yourself at a polling station where you're registered as a voter. The national ID is very important. We've talked about it, and that, of course, when you do...
I can tell you here verifiably, some people do not have this.
I do not know whether I have a minute to explain
so
this.
that's why I'm very eager to ask you. We have a minute, so go ahead.
So when you apply, Romeo, when you apply as when you come to a station and fill in that application, it's an application. The first stage you take you through is citizenship verification, which is done by NERA. When you are confirmed and verified as a citizen, there are things that happen. Number one, your particulars are captured and put into the... You are given a national ID number. A NIN. You're given a NIN, and your particulars are captured and put into the National Information Register. That means any agency that wants to give you services as a citizen can take your particulars and give you service as a citizen. Us as Electoral Commission, we extract you and put you on the National Voters Register as a citizen of Uganda. You have your NIN, you have been verified as a citizen, we put you on the Voters Register, you have your photograph, your particulars, your biometrics were captured, we put them on the register.
Okay, different scenario.
The last thing
different scenario. We are wrapping up. I have no ID, just in a nutshell.
Romeo, I was telling you that the last thing NERA does is to give you a national ID. They give you a name, they put you on the National Information Register, we extracted you, then they give you a national ID.
Okay, let's say time for elections has come. I don't have a national ID, but I'm reflected on the National Voters Register. Am I eligible?
You'll be identified at a polling station where registered. First of all, we use your biometrics. We issue voter locator slips. We are displaying the register right now so that you confirm that you're a registered voter. So the register is the basis for what if your ID disappears on that day of polling? So your ID is important for every day, every other thing that you do every day, even polling day.
But even though I lose it, I can still vote.
On polling day, you present yourself at a polling station where you're registered as a voter, where your particulars appear, which is why you should go for this display.
Okay, that is amazing. Thank you very much, Mr. Bukenya. After the exercise ends on March 10th, what happens with regards to the electoral roadmap?
After the exercise ends, we will compile the clean register and publish it, and then it will start to be used by the different players. Of course, like we indicated, the first set of elections is special interest groups, elections which are starting in April. And then we have aspiring candidates for president. They'll be going to look for supporter signatures. Nominations for presidential candidates is in August this year. How
much is it for the nomination?
We are going to issue detailed guidelines detailing everything that they need.
Please don't put it at 1 million. We need
the Electoral Commission does not set the nomination fees. It does not set the nomination
That's
fees.
why we need to amend the Electoral Commission Act.
We do not set the nomination fees. So that one, it's not our job. We implement it and we will be issuing the guidelines as per the existing Presidential Elections Act.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul Bukenya, the Deputy Spokesperson for the Electoral Commission. Thank you for having made light of these allegations. So many things have been in the realm, in the political realm, with regards to the National Voters Display, that you're not ready and that you're leaving so many people out. So right about now, we are just awaiting the implementation of the Electoral Commission's Act to actually involve this set of young voters who might be left out in this regard. Thank you for coming.
Welcome.
Right about now, we are going to switch gears and take a very short break. We'll be right back with another conversation talking about the role of religious leaders in the political realm. Keep it here on Morning at 8.